And we're going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles, who right now may be playing the best ball of anyone in the NFL. They are 10-2. They've won 8 games in a row. And I really think down the stretch of their win over the Ravens in Baltimore, they made a real statement about who they are. And I think this goes all the way back to their bye week. They started the season 2-2. There were a lot of questions about job security, about the new coordinators, Kellen Moore on offense, Vic Fangio on defense, where Jalen Hurts was, where a young defense was. And it just seems like everything since then has worked. Kellen Moore's scheme is working. Vic Fangio's scheme is working. The defense, they've made an emphasis on getting younger. Young players like Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell are making an impact. And, then on the offensive side, I think it's really interesting to go back to that bye week and Nick Sirianni's edict that everybody reflect on the first month of the season and kind of look inward and see where you can get better. And I can tell you that Kellen Moore and Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts had a series of meetings during that period of time. They talked every day during the bye week. They went over pretty much every throw that Jalen Hurts has made over the last couple of years, every play the Eagles offense has played to try to find answers. And the answer really was in leaning back into the run game and leaning back into what they were doing well over the first month of the season, which was running the ball behind Saquon Barkley. And now you see it. Now you see a team that is able to win behind its offensive line through its run game, which is pretty remarkable. You consider they just lost a Hall of Fame center after Jason Kelce retired. They've invested so much into that offensive line. Yes, Saquon is great, and Saquon deserves a ton of credit. Saquon should be in the MVP conversation. But I think a big part of it is what they're doing up front, what they're able to do up front with the players that they have. And then, being able to do a multitude of things with Saquon. And so, I think during that bye week in week 5, they were able to kind of figure out what their identity was going to be going forward. And that identity was going to be running the ball, throwing off of play action, leaning into Saquon Barkley as their receivers got healthier. And then in this game against Baltimore, we saw it at the very end where in that final drive, that final touchdown drive, they're able to run the ball 3 times for 50 yards. Saquon has a 25-yard touchdown. Then after that, just grind the clock down. Just a phenomenal job in the run game by the Eagles. Barely threw the ball in the fourth quarter. Imposed their will on a good Baltimore defense. Maybe it isn't what it was, but to be able to do that in that environment and that sort of stage against that team, I think is really, really impressive. And their ability to, again, just figure it out up front. And as they go, they lose a piece like Jason Kelce, and they had to play a few weeks without Jordan Mailata, and having Mailata and Lane Johnson at tackle, and finding Mekhi Becton and drafting Cam Jurgens and all the different things that they've done to make sure that offensive line is where it needs to be consistently. Howie Roseman and his group deserve a ton of credit for it. And then the defense. I mean, I think you look at like what Jalen Carter is doing for them on the inside. Like I said, the rookie DBs, they're younger across the board. Basically in the space of a year, they went from looking old and a little stagnant on defense to being young and athletic all over the place, which is pretty remarkable. So, I think in a lot of ways, this is, an Eagles team that is going to be very dangerous when the playoffs starts because of the amount of ways that they can beat you, the amount of answers that they have for you. And again, it's a huge credit to that entire program for being where they are after the way the season started. And having the roster that they do, is a huge credit to the people who put it together. Of course, that starts with Howie Roseman.